We begin today's Mobil 1 The Grid on two wheels as we head onto the MotoGP grid with Austria's championship challengers. In 2017, off-road specialists KTM moved into motorcycles' premier road racing category MotoGP. With new signing Jack Miller joining from Ducati and team veteran Brad Binder, this season they're regularly competing for wins.
We've had some highs and we've had lows, that's for sure. But yeah, it's been definitely a season where we've made massive steps forward. To me, it's the most competitive bike I've ever had in MotoGP. And I'm really enjoying things at the moment. You know, it's amazing coming into a weekend, lining up on the grid and knowing if you do a decent job, you can probably be fighting for a podium.
The staff and the drive of the company, I think, was more than enough, let's say, to entice me to come back after so many years away with Ducati. And also just knowing the Austrian mentality, the way that they go about things. When they get set in their ways, they focus until the job's done. So that alone was enough to sort of entice me to come across.
Jack has been a good mate of mine for a long time, and you know, I think Aussies and South Africans in general, we have a little bit more similarities maybe. To have him as a teammate is awesome because he tries hard, he's a pleasure to have around and he always gives his absolute best.
In MotoGP, KTM, Aprilia, Yamaha, Honda and Ducati go head-to-head in a 20-round World Championship that sees 28 riders on 1000cc purpose-built bikes reaching speeds of over 360 kilometers per hour.
A MotoGP bike is really the peak of technology on two wheels. It is the highest level prototype racing class we have there. Means you can really do almost everything you want to get faster. And this is of course a great opportunity for us as engineers to achieve something and to make the difference.
We are pretty peculiar in several areas of the bike, not only in aerodynamics. I mean, we are the only one with a steel frame instead of aluminum. It's sort of our identity, and we have WP suspension, the only one in this category to use them. And now we are trying to push on the aerodynamics. So yeah, it's a fight, and you have to perform.
While KTM seek a competitive edge to beat championship leaders Ducati, it's easy to forget they only achieved their first victory 3 years ago in the Czech Republic.
A blazing victory for Binder, a new star is born!
It was a huge moment, not only for me in my career, but also KTM. They came here as the outside new MotoGP team, developed everything themselves, and to walk away with our first win in Brno was unbelievable.
This season, although they're yet to win a Grand Prix, a standout weekend in Jerez brought a second sprint race victory and podium finishes in the main event, thanks to one of the fastest starting bikes on the grid.
Well, the starts on the KTM RC16 are unreal. I mean, it's like we know we have a row in our pocket before we launch. It makes racing so much better because you stand way more opportunities to set our passes, and especially nowadays with our tight MotoGP is, it's great to have that little bit extra in your pocket.
We've gone to a variety of different tracks, whether it be slow tracks, fast tracks, hard braking or more flowing. And we're showing that the bike is competitive week in, week out. We're just trying to find that last little missing piece of the puzzle to really put us there in the forefront, you know, challenging for the victories.
Brad Binder underlined the performance of the RC16 with a new MotoGP speed record, hitting 366.1 kilometers per hour during the Mugello sprint race. The goal now, though, is more victories and ultimately a world championship.
I've always wanted to be a KTM guy and always tried to give them my best. We have the same goal in mind, which is to one day fight for MotoGP world title. And that's the goal. That's what we're trying to achieve.
That's why we all come racing. We're all in search of that World Championships. That's definitely the ultimate goal. We have a fantastic motorcycle this year, and I believe that we can continue to challenge all the way through to the end of this year. And with the mindset that these guys have got and with how I'm feeling, I feel like we definitely got a good chance at it.
Next up, Formula One, as we ask Sergio Perez what makes a championship-winning team. Oracle Red Bull Racing have had the perfect start to 2023 and hold a mammoth 256-point lead in the F1 Constructors standings. Now in his third year with the team, Checo thinks he knows the secret to their success.
When you do want to finish, there is just like that constant look for improvements. race by race, always on how we can be perfect on all different areas. At pit stops, at starts, at time management, so many things that the team is really good at looking at. I've never been with a team that it's so much looking into the detail and always trying to improve and go further. I think it's the whole culture, you know, with Christian, Adrian, all the engineers, how everyone is in that boat looking for perfection.
For the Mexican, no relationship is more important than that with Hugh Bird, who's been his race engineer since he joined the team in 2021.
It's very important to have a good open relationship with your engineers, because to be able to communicate quicker, faster when it matters is very important. It's something that we have to keep working on, you know, to keep building that relationship to deliver to each other what we need. Whenever you don't have things to say, there are always things that you can learn from them, or they can learn from you, you know, every single day you are learning. So the more we can interact with each other, the better I think it is for the communication.
There's a cast of hundreds who've helped Perez and Max Verstappen to a record-breaking 13 consecutive victories. And on race day, he's ready to pick up the baton and deliver for the team.
It's a massive responsibility that you have on your hands when you're driving. So many people is watching you at home that has worked so hard for you. So it's a lot of responsibility under your shoulders, a lot of pressure, but it's what we love, you know. At the end of the day, the best you can do to make them happy is to win on race.
Next up, we look ahead to NASCAR's road race at the Brickyard.
This August, the NASCAR Cup Series heads to Indianapolis Motor Speedway for their 4th road race of the season.
For me, you know, growing up, you know, an hour south of Indianapolis, I feel like any race car driver, they just want to race at Indianapolis. But when you grow up in Indiana, there's a certain pride that comes from being a Hoosier and going and racing there. So for me, I just want to race in Indianapolis. I don't care if it's the oval, the road course, the dirt track, even the parking lot. I just want to race at Indianapolis. I just enjoy going there. I get to see all my family. I get to see friends and fans that I normally don't get to see, you know, really any other time of the year. So I'm not going to complain what configuration it's on. As long as we're still racing in Indianapolis, I'm happy.
For the last 2 years, NASCAR's Cup Series has been on the road course, not a universally popular move. But between 1994 and 2020, it was on the oval, the iconic Brickyard 400. SHR's Kevin Harvick won that race 3 times.
At the historic Brickyard, Kevin Harvick has won before. He's going to win again. Kevin Harvick wins the Brickyard 400.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway is just such a special racing facility. There's still that feel of driving into the racetrack and knowing you're at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but I do not like going backwards on the front straightaway. I can tell you that. But the good thing is I will have won my last 2 races of my career on the oval, so you gotta look at the bright side.
It's a shame. For me, it's all you think about the entire weekend that you're there is like, we should not be doing this and we should be racing the Brickyard 400. You know, maybe if we won the road course race there, I would think differently of it, but you know, especially after winning 2 back-to-back Brickyard 400s.
Now Harvick trying to go back-to-back at the most famous racetrack in the world. Coming out of turn 4, Kevin Harvick is going to see the checkered flag. He wins again at the Brickyard.
Gosh, you want to go try for a 3rd, and we didn't get that opportunity to go back-to-back-to-back. So I think now that we've done it a couple of years, it's probably time to switch it back.
While it remains on the road course, it's Chase Briscoe who's come closest to winning for SHR. He won stage 1 last season, and the year before he had a shot at victory before tangling with Denny Hamlin late on while battling for the lead.
Here's Briscoe to the outside, but he's going to be offline. No, Briscoe's in the grass.
But his biggest triumph at his home track came in the Xfinity Series back in 2020.
I would love to be able to win Indianapolis again. That was probably my favorite win of my career. Just, I dreamed of getting to race there, let alone win there and get to kiss the bricks and go to victory lane. You know, the hardest part, I think, for me is about that whole win. It was during COVID. There was no fans, there was no family, no friends, no nothing. So that's, I would say, the one thing that still drives me to really want to win a race there. Hopefully we can do it.
I know that the place is special to him and his family. I think that just to be able to win at the road course and hopefully one day win in the Oval, that's probably his crown jewel as a driver, just being from Indiana. So whenever we go there, obviously we put a lot of emphasis on it, knowing his success in the Xfinity car. And we've come close in the past, but just kind of putting it all together. But that's definitely a big ticket win for us.
Indianapolis may be more famous internationally for IndyCar's marquee race, the Indy 500, every May. But it's not just Indiana natives like Briscoe that consider it a special place for NASCAR.
When we had Brickyard 400s, really from the time I started, I mean, there was 250, 300,000 people in the grandstands, and it was always just a massive event. So it always felt like you were supposed to be there.
Definitely, it's prestigious. You can feel the aura that goes with Indianapolis, and I think whether you're racing on Indy cars or NASCAR, I think there's still that history of just how long guys have made laps around that track. And anytime you can try to win there and be a part of that elite group is super special.
Time now to join a driver reliving his maiden win in Australia's biggest race. From Formula One to World Rally and from IndyCar to sports car racing, this season we're taking star drivers down memory lane and back to that crucial first victory. Australian supercars Nick Percat was just a rookie in 2011, and as co-driver to Garth Tander in the number 2 car for the Holden Racing team, his first trip to the Bathurst 1000 was a baptism of fire.
I think I learned a lot the first year I did it with HRT, how quickly that place can bite, and since then, you know, I've had a really good run of podiums, top 5 finishes. And it's one where everyone says it, but it's get the car to lap 100 and then we'll see where we're at. It's one where it's got to be smart and push when it's appropriate, and you know, if it's your day, you end up on the podium, and it definitely feels like it's an event where it nearly chooses you and what you've done that day to reward you.
Now racing as Walkinshaw Andretti United, the Holden Racing team was one of Australia's most successful supercar teams, and in 2011 they were seeking a 5th victory in the series' signature race.
To rock up there with the Holden Racing team, it was a pretty smooth weekend. I think we qualified provisional pole, go out in the top 10 shootout, it starts raining, so we qualify at the back end of the 10. Garth started the race, got us into good contention. I'll never forget the car coming down pit lane for the first time. Driver change goes well, which was the first tick, and then the first 4 or 5 laps, I'm like, oh, I think, this is what they call the lunchtime shift. I can just drive it around at like 80%, it'll be enough, and then to get the call, like, no mate, you're in car 2 and we're here to win. It was get on with it, and that was the crazy thing.
Oh, in the wall! Perk had a mistake there by being courteous. That's just experience. Because off the racing line at turn 2 at this place, there is no grip, and he's just discovered it the hard way.
And I'll never forget the words of the engineer at the time. During my first stint, it was like, Nick, we need you to go faster. And I was just petrified. Looking back, and I pinched myself because I was racing against, obviously, Wing Cup all day. And then in the other Triple Eight car, it was Lowndes and Scaife, and they were 2 heroes of mine.
Craig Lowndes and Mark Scaife were already established stars, but Percat was just starting his journey and trying to prove himself on the 6.2-kilometre Mount Panorama track.
Driving Bathurst is scary. You never feel like you do the perfect lap, and it doesn't matter if you're fast or slow, the effort to do the lap and the risk level is absolutely huge, and it just feels like you're floating with a little bit of grip, and you're just managing the car to the walls and maximising the track limits you have. And it's one where every time you cross the line, even in the race, you're like, okay, let's gear up for another lap here. It's a wild place.
It was certainly a wild finish in 2011, but with lead driver Tander in the car, Percat could only watch on and hope for the win.
Those last hour or so when I was back in the pits watching on the monitors, I was getting paler by the moment, realising what was happening and watching Lowndes come at Garth, and I think one of the closest finishes we had at Bathurst at the time.
Legendary finish. This is the year of the rookie and the pro. Tander and Nick Percat are the champions.
Being an Adelaide boy to win it and the first rookie in 30-odd years, it was just seriously unbelievable, but a fairly cool fairy tale for the Holden brand and the team.
Time now to head on to the grid.
The month of July was jam-packed full of action, and we start in Italy with the World Endurance Championship. There was revenge for Toyota at the 6 Hours of Monza. They beat Ferrari, who had pipped them to victory at Le Mans in June. For the number 7 GR10, it was a second win of the campaign, putting Mike Conway, Jose Maria Lopez and Kamui Kobayashi right back in the title fight. And there was an early championship title for Corvette Racing. After 3 wins, including Le Mans, 4th place was enough for Ben Keating, Nico Varrone and Nicky Katzberg to wrap up the GTE AM class with 2 races to spare. NASCAR took to the streets of Chicago for the first time, and it was a rookie that won the race, former Australian Supercars champion Shane van Gisbergen. The New Zealander became the first driver to win on debut in 60 years. At Pocono, things got a little tasty as Tyler Reddick nudged Austin Dillon into the wall. That ended his day and provoked an irate reaction as Dillon threw his helmet at the number 45 Toyota. Late in the race, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson battled for the lead.
Up into the wall with the 5. Larson loses the lead. Hamlin's out front.
Hamlin then held off Tyler Reddick and, under yellow, took his 50th career victory. He was greeted by boos from the fans at the Tricky Triangle.
The crowd maybe not so happy at how Denny Hamlin ended up winning this race.
In the IndyCar Championship on the streets of Toronto, Alex Palou was looking for a 4th consecutive victory, but was finally caught by Christian Lundgaard.
Palou and Lundgaard, championship leader, pole position winner, early race leader, they're wheel to wheel and the Danish driver gets by the Spaniard.
Lundgaard held on for his maiden IndyCar victory. Iowa then hosted a doubleheader, and it was the perfect weekend for Indy 500 winner Joseph Newgarden. He won both races and remains unbeaten on the ovals so far this season. Estonia hosted the July round of the WRC, and for the 3rd consecutive year it was a weekend of dominance from Kalle Rovanperä and co-driver Jonne Halttunen. The Flying Finn won 13 consecutive stages, including the power stage, to beat Thierry Neuville by almost a minute and extend his championship lead to 55 points over teammate Elvin Evans. And finally, the IMSA Sports Car Championship had an eventful race in Canada. Multiple contacts led to yellow flags and restarts before Cadillac's Brenke van der Zande went into the tyre wall with just minutes to go. This meant that the Meyershank Racing Acura won the race in GTP, while the number 3 Corvette took victory in GTD Pro. That ended a drought stretching back to March last year.
To end the show, we joined Corvette Racing's World Endurance Squad on their global tour.
2023 has seen Corvette Racing on 2 fronts for the 2nd year. Alongside the IMSA Sports Car Series, the American outfit have won Le Mans and clinched teams and drivers' titles in an incredible World Endurance Championship campaign.
The World Endurance Championship is extremely competitive right now. It's the only GT class in the WEC, so teams, manufacturers, they all try to bring their best drivers, their best lineup. So I would say it's one of the highest levels in GT racing you can find. Doesn't make it easy, but we've been doing quite okay so far.
The competition in WEC is strong, no doubt. It's world-class manufacturers still competing here. Even though it is an AM-based category, everybody is getting after it. So for us to be able to compete here, to be able to be successful, we have to be on our A game all the time.
The bad boys from Detroit are perennial champions in North American competition, but the WEC means a road trip from the US across Europe and into Asia. Fighting on 2 championship fronts is no small feat and involves a huge amount of planning.
It's a high-stakes cup game where we're moving components around. We do a lot of sea freight, some air freight, and we're planning months, sometimes years in advance in terms of part rotation. It really is all hands on deck. We have a few people in the office who are focused pretty heavily on that, and without that, the program doesn't exist. We don't get the cars to the track, so they're a huge part of it.
While components are zooming around the world, with the exception of a few of the drivers, the crews spend time between races back home in the United States.
The base of operations is Pratt & Miller in New Hudson, Michigan. That is where the IMSA team operates from, and it is where the majority of the WEC crew spends their time as well.
For me, it's really funny. You know, the guys are great. I enjoy a lot working with them. It's like a family, you know. When we have to work hard, we work hard, but when we can have time to get a laugh or to joke around, we do it. And it's a really nice atmosphere. I really enjoy it.
When the crews are on the road, teamwork is crucial. While racing simultaneously in Canada and Italy recently, engineers at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park were able to connect remotely to real-time engineering and strategy data on the pit wall at Monza.
It's a big effort for Corvette Racing to do all these events, some of them completely on the other side of the world. Obviously, they're used to racing in America, and now we're all of a sudden racing everywhere else. The transport and the logistics are very different in this championship to what they are used to. So it's a big challenge, but so far they've been doing a great job. So it seems like they can accept that challenge and still make it work.
It's a challenge. Everyone does a great job, but we spend a lot of time on an airplane. We spend a lot of time traveling. Sometimes our bodies are confused between European time and US time. We make do, but it's certainly a big commitment from all the team members to run this season the way we do.
The global tour sounds frenetic, but it's also a rich experience, and visiting some of the world's great racetracks certainly has its compensations.
My favorite track is probably Spa. I just love Spa, all the different elements of it. As far as the racing goes, I love Le Mans. In terms of a place to visit, I don't know why, but I feel like I have a connection to Italy. I really love the race at Monza. There's something about staying in the center of Monza, going to the coffee shop in the morning. There's something special about racing at Monza for me. But the community, the experience of being in Monza is awesome.
I don't get to stay too much at home, but every little bit that I can go home, I take it, and I enjoy being with my family, with my friends, with my dogs. It's nice to recharge batteries. I also enjoy traveling the world, getting to know new places. For example, this year we are going to Japan. I've never been to Japan, so I'm really excited to see what it looks like. So it's really cool, and to do it with these people is even cooler.
Teamwork has been central to Corvette's success, and while the IMSA season has yet to be decided, the WEC crew head to Japan, aiming to underline their title credentials with yet another win.
I'm just thrilled to do the full World Endurance Championship in the Corvette. We've had a fairy tale season so far, won the championship, and it's just been so incredible to race in the bad boy from Detroit.
The season so far, we have to be pleased. There's no way we couldn't be. To win at Sebring, to win at Portimao, Le Mans, it shows the strength of the car and the strength of the team. It makes all the hard work, all the hours in the shop, all the preparation, it makes it worthwhile for sure.
Next time, the tech behind KTM's RC16 and behind the scenes at Rally Finland. We'll see you then on Mobil 1 The Grid.